Urgent, Lakers have problem with Luka Dončić's renewal. Stay until the end to know everything, but first leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything from the Lakers. When Luka Dončić stepped onto the scene in Los Angeles, the franchise appeared to have stumbled onto its long-awaited successor to the giants of past eras. A virtuoso of his craft, internationally celebrated, and already among the NBA's elite, Doncic was heralded as the face of the Lakers' future. Initial excitement surged throughout the organization. Here was a young star capable of guiding a storied franchise into a new epoch. Yet as the clock ticks toward his eligibility for another major contract extension, that electric energy is fraying into tension behind closed doors. According to multiple NBA insiders, including veteran reporter Brian Windhorst, the Lakers' leadership is feeling the pressure now more than ever. What once was strategic calm has turned introspective anxiety. Internally, executives are wrestling with the stakes of this impending decision. On August 2nd, Doncic gains the right to sign an extension of up to 4 years, valued near $229 million. But the looming question is whether he'll accept that full deal, or opt instead for a shorter commitment that keeps his flexibility alive. Following the norms of high-performance contracts, this second Supermax extension often marks a turning point, faltering organizational momentum or validating it. Insiders say the Lakers are on edge, alert to other teams positioning themselves, ready to pounce if Doncic's path becomes uncertain. If he chooses a short deal or no deal at all, a player option grants him entry into free agency after the next season, turning him into the most coveted prize on the market. The consequences are monumental. For the Lakers, the decision will either cement their long-term vision or throw their near-future strategy into disarray. For Doncic, it's a moment of control balanced against the uncertainty of choosing the best environment to chase championships. Inside the Lakers' front office, the atmosphere has subtly shifted from forward momentum to risk assessment. Every move now carries additional weight, from trade talks to draft strategy, even down to what assistant coaches are given the green light to pursue. In today's NBA, loyalty is not guaranteed, and neither is success, unless you lock in your cornerstone. The countdown is real, and the result may very well redefine the trajectory of one of basketball's most iconic franchises. As the August deadline for a new extension approaches, Luka Dončić stands at a pivotal crossroads, one that could shape the remainder of his career and the direction of the Los Angeles Lakers for years to come. It's not just a question of money. For a player of Luka's caliber, the financial incentives are substantial regardless of the path he chooses. Instead, the dilemma centers on strategy, control, and vision. Doncic is eligible for a deal worth approximately $229 million over 4 years, a staggering figure by any standard. But as insiders from The Athletic and other major outlets have noted, the expectation within league circles is that he may instead pursue a shorter extension. Why? Because by 2028, Luka will reach his 10th year in the NBA. That milestone unlocks a new contractual tier, one where he could earn up to 35% of the salary cap on a long-term deal, potentially surpassing the already massive figures currently on the table. This possibility places Doncic in a rare and powerful position. He has already proven himself as one of the league's premier talents. At just 26, he's still approaching the peak of his prime. Committing to a short-term deal allows him to maintain maximum flexibility while still earning elite compensation, and it sends a message to the Lakers: build around me or I'll keep my options open. From the Lakers' perspective, this uncertainty is far from ideal. The team had envisioned Doncic as the torchbearer of the post-LeBron era, a generational talent around whom they could rebuild a championship identity. A 4- or 5-year commitment from Luka would solidify that vision, giving the front office room to plan long-term trades, free agency signings, and development strategies. A shorter contract, or worse, none at all, throws that vision into limbo. Still, even a 2-year extension would offer a degree of breathing room. It would at least buy the Lakers time to show Luka they're serious about winning, time to reinforce the roster, and time to create a culture he believes in. But if he walks away without signing anything and instead chooses to play out the season on his current deal, the alarm bells inside the organization will ring louder than ever. That path would open the door to a player option in the following summer, at which point Doncic could become an unrestricted free agent, able to walk away for nothing in return. In that scenario, the Lakers would not only lose their foundational player but suffer a massive reputational blow. How do you recover from letting one of the league's most transcendent talents slip away? It's a high-stakes gamble on both sides. Doncic holds most of the cards. He can signal his contentment or his caution based on how many years he signs for, or if he signs at all. The Lakers, meanwhile, must walk a tightrope, reassure their superstar, strengthen the roster around him, and maintain flexibility in case things go south. This is the new NBA. Loyalty is earned, not assumed. And players, especially superstars, have learned to value leverage over comfort. Doncic's situation is a case study in modern player empowerment, where the old rules no longer apply. For now, both sides remain in quiet communication. Publicly, there's little drama. But beneath the surface, every meeting, every roster move, every line in a press conference is weighed with greater meaning. Will Doncic tie his future to Los Angeles? Or will he keep one eye on the horizon? The clock is ticking, and so is the trust. From the outside, the Los Angeles Lakers maintain their polished image. Press releases, public optimism, and confident quotes from executives who insist everything is under control. But behind the closed doors of team meetings, coaching discussions, and locker room interactions, the uncertainty surrounding Luka Dončic's future is beginning to take a toll. Within any NBA franchise, the presence of a superstar brings a unique gravitational pull. He becomes the axis around which the rest of the roster orbits, and for the Lakers, Luka has quickly become that central figure. Yet, without a clear long-term commitment, there's a quiet fragility in the atmosphere. Coaches tread carefully, players feel the pressure, and the front office operates under a magnifying glass. Internally, staff members are aware of the stakes. Luka isn't just another all-star. He's a potential generational leader whose decision will determine whether the team stabilizes or unravels. Conversations that were once focused on development and strategy now include contingency planning. What if Luka walks? Is a question that echoes in every corner of the Lakers training facility, even if it's never spoken out loud. The coaching staff feels this weight deeply. They're tasked not only with maximizing Luka's brilliance on the court but also maintaining a culture that convinces him this is the right place to build his legacy. Every tactical choice, minute distribution, or defensive assignment now has an underlying political dimension. Coaches ask themselves, will this help build trust with Luka? Or could it push him away? Meanwhile, veteran players, some of whom came to LA for a chance to play alongside Doncic, are quietly evaluating their own futures. If the franchise cornerstone might be gone in a year, should they commit long-term? Should they start exploring trade options behind the scenes? Younger players wonder whether they'll be part of a new system built around Luka or just assets moved to create a win-now roster to please him. That uncertainty eats away at focus, camaraderie, and continuity. There's also pressure on the general manager and president of basketball operations. Every move they make, from free agency targets to draft day decisions, is evaluated through the Luka lens. It's not just about building a strong roster, it's about building one that speaks to Luka's goals. Does he want another all-star beside him? Does he prefer a system that lets him dominate the ball, or one where he shares responsibility? The front office has to guess, or worse, try to read between the lines of every conversation with his camp. Morale, while not broken, is delicate. Everyone is walking a fine line. The organization wants to show trust in Doncic without appearing desperate. They want to build naturally without making panic decisions. And yet, each passing day without a signed extension increases the unease. Even the fans feel it. Social media buzzes with speculation, theories, and leaked rumors. Laker Nation is one of the most passionate and vocal fan bases in sports, and they are paying attention. Season ticket holders, influencers, and longtime followers are already questioning what happens next. If Luka leaves, can the franchise recover quickly, or will it spiral into another painful rebuild? In this environment, the smallest details take on oversized importance. A minor ankle injury becomes a major storyline. A post-game quote is dissected for hidden meaning. A casual smile during warm-ups becomes content for debate shows. That's the level of scrutiny the team is under, and it's all fueled by one unresolved question. Is Luka really staying? As the franchise holds its breath, everyone inside the Lakers' walls knows the truth. They're living through one of the most fragile and decisive moments in recent team history. Everything depends on what happens next. While the Los Angeles Lakers grapple with the internal pressure of securing Luka Dončić's future, a different kind of movement is taking place across the rest of the NBA. It's subtle, quiet, and often disguised as standard operations. But make no mistake, other teams are watching closely. Executives, scouts, and agents around the league understand the stakes. Superstars like Doncic don't enter free agency often, and even when they do, it's usually with strong indications of where they're headed. But this situation feels different. The uncertainty hanging over LA isn't just a contract negotiation. It's an opportunity in disguise, and rival teams are quietly maneuvering, preparing their chessboards in case the unthinkable happens. Luka becomes available. Front offices have already begun the math. Who has cap space in 2025? Who can make room for a max contract if needed? Which organizations offer a young core, championship infrastructure, or market appeal that might intrigue Doncic? These questions are being asked in real time. And while no one is making public declarations, the groundwork for future recruitment is already underway. One Western Conference executive reportedly told a colleague, "We're not building for this season. We're building in case Luka doesn't re-sign." That kind of thinking isn't unique. In recent years, we've seen teams make quiet sacrifices in the short term to prepare for a superstar swing. Whether it was the Clippers before Kawhi Leonard, the Heat before LeBron James, or the Suns before Kevin Durant, history has shown that teams willing to wait and prepare in silence often get their shot. Certain franchises are better positioned than others. The Miami Heat have a culture of attracting stars and flexibility to clear cap space. The New York Knicks have a massive media market and a solid young core. The San Antonio Spurs now have Victor Wembanyama, and pairing him with Luka could become the most dynamic international duo the league has ever seen. The Oklahoma City Thunder, stacked with draft picks and young talent, could build an appealing long-term case. The list goes on. For these teams, the process has already begun behind the scenes. Player agents are contacted. Relationships are strengthened. Social media posts are monitored. Even a like on an Instagram story is analyzed for meaning. In today's NBA, nothing is too small to be significant, and Doncic's digital footprint is already a subject of league-wide attention. And then there's the human element. Players talk. Luka has friends, former teammates, and fellow international stars scattered across the league. Tampering rules are often danced around, never explicitly broken but consistently tested. A well-timed message from a peer, a shared workout in the off-season, a comment during All-Star Weekend, all of it contributes to the long game of recruitment. Meanwhile, the Lakers are aware of all this. They know that once uncertainty creeps in, the NBA machine shifts into motion. They've seen it happen with stars before. No team wants to be the one left stunned when a player announces he's leaving, especially not a franchise with the legacy and expectations of Los Angeles. The challenge for LA isn't just convincing Luka to stay, it's doing so while resisting the panic that comes from knowing the rest of the league is circling. Every team believes they're one move away from greatness, and Luka is the kind of player who can instantly change a franchise's destiny. For now, those teams are patient. They won't show their cards unless Doncic signals he's ready to look elsewhere. But they're ready. The moment the door opens even slightly, the floodgates will burst. Presentations will be prepared. Pitches will be crafted. Coaches and stars will be deployed to make personal appeals. Billboards might go up overnight. This is how the modern NBA operates. Less through press conferences, more through quiet preparation. And as long as Luka Dončić remains unsigned, the league waits in a loaded silence, like predators in tall grass. Watching. Planning. Hoping. In the midst of contract speculation and mounting organizational tension, Luka Dončić finds himself walking a tightrope, not just as a basketball player, but as a public figure navigating one of the NBA's most demanding stages. Being the face of the Los Angeles Lakers comes with massive privilege, but also with overwhelming scrutiny. For Doncic, the daily spotlight has never been unfamiliar. From his teenage dominance in Europe to his rapid ascent in the NBA, fame and expectation have been constant companions. But Los Angeles is a different arena altogether. The market is louder, the fanbase more emotional, and the microscope more intense. Every gesture, every pause during an interview, every tweet or absence thereof is treated like a headline. And now, with the cloud of his contract hanging over every move, the scrutiny is heavier than ever. Among Lakers fans, the feeling is a mix of admiration and anxiety. They've embraced Luka wholeheartedly since his arrival, hailing him as the franchise's next great leader. His no-look passes, deep threes, and fiery competitiveness have already created unforgettable moments. But now a quiet fear seeps in. What if it's not forever? What if he leaves? For many, that fear morphs into pressure. Social media becomes a theater of emotion, where Doncic is praised one night and criticized the next, not for his performance but for his silence. The absence of a contract extension creates a vacuum, and in that void, fans project their hopes, doubts, and frustrations. Even the media, both local and national, plays a part in this psychological equation. Daily sports talk shows dissect his body language, post-game quotes, and interactions with teammates. Is he smiling enough? Is he clapping on the bench? Is he taking too many solo shots? It's the kind of minute dissection usually reserved for seasoned veterans, or athletes rumored to be halfway out the door. Through it all, Luka remains composed, at least publicly. He sticks to rehearsed lines in interviews, speaks positively about the team, and avoids controversy. But those closest to him know the weight he carries. He's only 26, yet expected to be both a savior and a strategist, a leader and a negotiator. That's a heavy load even for someone as gifted as Doncic. Privately, Luka is believed to be deeply thoughtful about his situation. He's not one to make impulsive decisions. He cares about legacy, about winning, about being in the right environment. While some players chase fame or short-term gains, Luka's motivations run deeper. He wants to feel aligned with the team's goals. He wants to trust the people around him. And he wants to compete at the highest level consistently. But trust isn't something that's guaranteed, not even in a storied franchise like the Lakers. If there are cracks in the foundation, Luka sees them. If there's dysfunction behind closed doors, he hears it. And if the franchise's actions don't match their words, he takes note. That's what makes this contract situation so complex. It's not just about numbers, it's about confidence, in the vision, in the leadership, and in the future. Mentally, the burden can manifest in subtle ways. Fatigue that lingers, a few cold shooting nights, a missed defensive rotation. These aren't just athletic fluctuations. They can be signs of mental noise, of a superstar carrying more than just basketball on his shoulders. And yet, Luka continues to perform. He puts up triple-doubles, makes late-game plays, and leads by example. But every time he glances at the scoreboard, or perhaps at the empty signature line on a contract, he knows what's at stake. As the season progresses, the public narrative grows louder. Will he stay? Becomes the central storyline not just in LA but across the league. And Luka, despite his calm exterior, is caught in the eye of that storm. Every arena he walks into, every post-game presser, every road game chant, it all carries the same undertone. Decision time is coming. And the only person who truly knows the answer is Luka himself. In Los Angeles, the past never fades, it echoes. The banners hanging high above Crypto.com Arena, the statues outside, the retired jerseys, and the historic names all form an invisible weight on every new star who dons the purple and gold. And for Luka Dončić, that shadow isn't just historical, it's personal. It's LeBron James. When Doncic joined the Lakers, he did so in the fading twilight of LeBron's tenure. Though the king remained productive, everyone understood that a new chapter was coming. Luka wasn't just arriving, he was inheriting. And with that inheritance came expectations that few athletes in any sport have ever had to face. LeBron's time in LA brought another championship, restored the team's global relevance, and reminded the league what star power looks like when paired with winning. His influence was cultural, commercial, and basketball-driven. Now, with Luka being positioned as the next cornerstone, the pressure is to not just follow LeBron, but to surpass him. That's a task even the most confident player might hesitate before accepting. Every move Luka makes is subconsciously compared to what LeBron would have done. Did he rally the team in crunch time? Did he take over the fourth quarter? Did he speak up post-game with clarity and vision? It's not always fair, but it's part of the deal. In Los Angeles, greatness is not optional, it's the standard. Internally, the Lakers organization has tried to manage this transition with care. They've worked to hand the reins to Luka without forcing a torch-passing ceremony. But fans and media have done the opposite. They've craved a moment, a headline, a quote that declares, "This is Luka's team now." And Luka, ever composed, has refused to make that declaration publicly. Not out of fear, but because he's still deciding what this team truly is to him. The shadow of LeBron isn't just symbolic, it affects roster decisions, marketing focus, and public perception. The franchise spent years tailoring its identity to revolve around one of the greatest players of all time. Now, it must quickly shift gears to build around a younger star who operates differently, who's less interested in brand building and more invested in pure basketball dominance. That adjustment is ongoing. Some within the Lakers front office are still learning what it means to support Luka's vision. He's not LeBron, and that's the point. Where James is vocal and deliberate, Doncic is instinctual and fiery. Where LeBron builds dynasties with calculated moves, Luka often lets his game speak louder than his words. For a franchise used to operating through the LeBron lens, adapting to Doncic's rhythm takes patience. But there's another layer to consider. Luka's understanding of legacy. He's not just aware of what LeBron built, he respects it deeply. He knows that joining the Lakers places him in a lineage of icons. Magic, Kareem, Kobe, Shaq, LeBron. That awareness fuels his drive, but it also raises the bar. If he stays, he's not just committing to a team, he's aligning himself with a mythos. One misstep, one playoff failure, and the critiques won't be kind. That's the reality of playing in Los Angeles. Winning is the expectation, not the exception. And while Luka has the talent to thrive under that spotlight, he's still asking the deeper question. Is this truly where I want to build my own legacy, or am I living in someone else's echo? LeBron himself has taken a measured approach. He's spoken highly of Doncic in the past, even calling him one of his favorite players to watch. But he hasn't tried to mentor Luka publicly or endorse him as his heir. Whether intentional or not, that absence leaves space and pressure for Luka to define himself on his own terms. As the season progresses, the specter of transition looms large. The Lakers are no longer LeBron's team and not yet fully Luka's. They exist in an awkward in-between, a limbo that only a signed extension or a shocking departure can resolve. And while fans cheer every Luka step-back three and marvel at his court vision, a single question continues to linger beneath the surface of every game. Will he embrace the weight of the franchise's past, or choose to create a future elsewhere, free from the shadows of kings? At the heart of any franchise's long-term success lies an often overlooked element: trust. Not just between players and coaches, but between the star player and the organization's leadership. For Luka Dončić and the Los Angeles Lakers, that relationship is under the microscope. And right now it's delicate. When Doncic signed with the Lakers, he did so with faith, not just in the brand but in the people running the show behind the scenes. He believed in the vision sold to him, a team committed to building a sustainable championship contender with him as the centerpiece. But belief in the NBA is fragile, and it must be backed up by action. Over the last few seasons, the Lakers front office has had a mixed track record. There were flashes of brilliance, like the 2020 title run, but also a string of questionable decisions, from hasty trades to inconsistent roster construction. In an era where stars demand stability, inconsistency can quickly turn excitement into hesitation. Luka isn't the kind of player to micromanage the front office. He doesn't expect to make decisions, but he does expect transparency and alignment. He wants to see that the people making calls are building a team with a long-term strategy, not simply chasing headlines or reacting to fan noise. And at times, that confidence has been tested. The revolving door of role players, the quick trigger trades, and the occasional overemphasis on star power without supporting depth have all raised concerns, not just for Luka but for those in his inner circle. He's seen firsthand how unstable rosters can derail seasons. He knows that no single player, not even himself, can carry a team to a championship alone. One of the recent tension points has reportedly been the lack of a consistent supporting cast. While Doncic thrives with shooters and smart defenders around him, the Lakers have at times prioritized names over fit. That's left Luka to shoulder an enormous load, not just as a scorer but as a playmaker, floor general, and emotional leader. Another issue has been long-term planning. Doncic wants to see a blueprint. What's the vision for the next 5 years? Who are the foundational players? Which draft picks are protected? How is player development being prioritized? These questions aren't just front office concerns anymore, they're part of the modern superstar's calculus. The uncertainty around coaching stability also plays a role. In recent seasons, the Lakers have cycled through different coaching philosophies, sometimes without giving them time to truly take root. For Luka, who values clarity and continuity, this can be unsettling. He wants to know that he's growing within a system, not being asked to adapt every 6 months to a new plan. Internally, sources suggest that Lakers management is aware of these concerns. Meetings have been held, strategies adjusted, and communication lines opened with Luka's representatives. But for Doncic, words must be matched with action. And until the front office proves that it can build and maintain a coherent, winning environment, hesitation will linger. Complicating matters is the external pressure from ownership. The Lakers are not just a basketball team, they're a global brand, and that branding pressure sometimes pushes the organization towards splashy moves instead of smart ones. Luka, as competitive and focused as he is, doesn't care about jersey sales or TV ratings. He wants championships. And he wants a team built to win, not just to attract attention. This is the test facing the Lakers now. Can they convince Luka, not just with money but with competence? Can they present a future that's not built on legacy alone, but on logic and purpose? Can they show him that staying isn't just sentimental, but strategic? Because if they can't, the consequences are clear. In today's NBA, stars have options. And Doncic, with his prime still ahead of him, would immediately become the most sought-after free agent in a decade. The Lakers would not only lose their best player, they'd risk losing credibility as a destination for the next one. The clock is ticking. And while Luka focuses on basketball, the front office must deliver, not just promises but proof. Luka Dončić didn't come to the NBA to become a celebrity, he came to win. And while stardom has followed him wherever he's played, his motivations remain grounded in the game itself. That's what makes his current situation with the Los Angeles Lakers uniquely complex. Because in LA, basketball and business have never been fully separate. For decades, the Lakers have operated as more than just a franchise, they're a global entertainment brand. From Hollywood courtside appearances to multi-million-dollar sponsorships, everything in LA is magnified. The Lakers are marketed like a dynasty, whether they're winning championships or simply chasing the next big name. For many stars, that's appealing. The platform is massive, the exposure constant, and the rewards, both financial and reputational, are unmatched. But Luka isn't wired that way. Yes, he participates in media. Yes, he understands his role as a franchise face. But his heart belongs to the game. He grew up studying basketball, not brand building. He idolized winners, not influencers. And in his mind, success on the court should always drive everything else, not the other way around. That's where friction has begun to surface behind the scenes. Since arriving in Los Angeles, Doncic has watched decisions being made that occasionally seem rooted more in optics than on-court value. Press releases, marketing campaigns, and big-name acquisitions have taken priority over team chemistry or long-term planning. While the Lakers remain financially aggressive and media-savvy, Luka's concerns aren't about headlines, they're about fit, structure, and winning culture. This divergence of priorities has left him in an internal tug-of-war. On one hand, he appreciates the magnitude of being a Laker, the legacy, the global stage, the passionate fan base. On the other, he wonders if that very stage is interfering with the real work, Building a contender. Several sources close to Luka suggest that he's raised questions privately. Why are certain players pursued? Why are systems changed so frequently? Why are off-court initiatives sometimes emphasized more than in-season adjustments? These aren't the questions of a disgruntled star. They're the reflections of someone who's still deciding whether the franchise's values match his own. Publicly, Doncic remains respectful. He never undermines his coaches. He shows professionalism in every press conference. But the message between the lines is consistent. I'm here to win. And if the Lakers ever stop prioritizing that, his loyalty won't last forever. This conflict between commerce and competition isn't new in LA. It happened during Kobe Bryant's final seasons, when the team's rebuilding efforts clashed with the push to maximize Kobe's brand. It echoed during the early LeBron years, when questions about off-court distractions hovered over the franchise. And now it resurfaces again, this time through the lens of a European superstar who isn't driven by the Hollywood machine. The Lakers, to their credit, are trying to strike a balance. They understand that Luka is not just another star. He's a generational player whose prime years cannot be squandered. They know that keeping him requires more than jersey sales and TV deals. It requires a culture shift, one where basketball decisions take precedence over business opportunities. But that shift isn't easy. In LA, the spotlight is always on. Ownership wants to maintain relevance. Sponsors want visibility. The media wants sound bites. And in the middle of it all stands Luka Dončić, trying to block out the noise and focus on what matters: winning basketball games. Every player has a threshold, a line that, when crossed, forces a decision. For Luka, that line has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with belief. Belief that the people around him are committed to greatness. Belief that the franchise isn't using his talent as leverage for commercial gain. Belief that this is a place where basketball truly comes first. If the Lakers can reinforce that belief, they'll likely keep their star. If not, they risk watching him walk away, not out of spite or frustration but out of principle. And for a player like Luka, principle means everything. While tension brews inside the walls of the Lakers organization, eyes across the league are watching. Quietly. Strategically. Every time Luka Dončić leaves a press conference without confirming long-term intentions, every vague answer about his future, every moment of organizational uncertainty in Los Angeles, it sends ripples through front offices elsewhere. Because Luka isn't just another all-star. He's a once-in-a-generation offensive engine, someone who can carry a franchise deep into the playoffs year after year. And if the Lakers can't secure his commitment, there's no shortage of franchises ready to pounce. Whispers have already begun to circulate. Teams with flexibility, cap space, draft capital, and attractive rosters are evaluating how they could make room. General managers are quietly instructing scouts to monitor Doncic's mood, not just his stats. Ownership groups are considering how far they'd go to build a structure appealing enough to lure him away from Hollywood. In boardrooms across the NBA, Luka watch has begun. One of the more intriguing possibilities is the New York Knicks. With a loyal fanbase, massive media exposure, and a growing young core, they've positioned themselves as a potential landing spot for a true superstar. Pairing Doncic with another all-star and coach Tom Thibodeau's structured system could instantly vault them into championship conversations. For Luka, the chance to be the savior of Madison Square Garden, without the distractions of Hollywood branding, may prove enticing. Then there's the Miami Heat. Pat Riley has built a culture that thrives on accountability, defense, and grit, traits that could complement Luka's offensive brilliance. With proven postseason experience and a willingness to swing big trades, Miami could offer a balance of competitive urgency and elite management that resonates with Doncic's mindset. Another potential suitor is the San Antonio Spurs. The idea of teaming up with Victor Wembanyama, forming one of the most dynamic international duos in league history, is already capturing imaginations. Under Greg Popovich's tutelage, or that of his successor, Luka would gain basketball structure and a no-nonsense developmental environment. It's not flashy, but for someone focused on winning, it could be irresistible. Dallas has also quietly kept a door open. While his departure from the Mavericks was amicable, it wasn't seamless. But the bond he built there, particularly with the fanbase and some of the organization's figures, could leave room for a dramatic return, especially if the right pieces are put in place. Other dark horse candidates include teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who boast a war chest of draft picks and young stars, or even the Boston Celtics, should they wish to recalibrate around a new core. Wherever he would go, the common denominator is this: control. Luka wants a voice in the future. A plan. A commitment to excellence. Meanwhile, the Lakers are fully aware of these brewing possibilities. That's part of why internal pressure is so intense. They know Luka isn't using these options as leverage. He's genuinely considering where he fits best for the next chapter of his career. If the environment in Los Angeles doesn't align with his ambitions, there's no emotional tether strong enough to keep him tied down. In this chess game, timing matters. The league's calendar is ruthless: extensions, free agency, draft windows. Every move is calculated. And the longer Doncic waits to sign a new deal, the more empowered these rival franchises become. They'll be ready with proposals, pitches, and promises of stability, everything Luka's camp is listening for. For now, the Lakers still have the advantage. They hold his rights. They offer the spotlight. But that advantage fades with every moment of doubt. Around the league, teams are preparing like hunters waiting for the signal. They're patient, respectful, but absolutely ready. And if Los Angeles slips, even briefly, the NBA's next seismic shift could be triggered, not in free agency headlines, but in Luka Dončić quietly packing his bags for a new home built around his values, not just his name. Every superstar reaches a crossroads. For some, it arrives quietly, shaped by circumstance. For others, it arrives with spectacle, cameras rolling, rumors flying, and a league collectively holding its breath. Luka Dončić now stands at that very point, with the weight of his career, his legacy, and perhaps even the league's balance of power resting on his next move. This isn't just about money. The financial incentives are massive, hundreds of millions of dollars are on the table, but Luka isn't driven by contract size alone. It's about vision, trust, purpose. It's about aligning his prime years with an organization that sees the game the same way he does. Not as a performance but as a craft. Not as a product but as a pursuit. In Los Angeles, he has visibility. He has resources. He has access to the game's brightest lights and richest stage. But what's less clear is whether he has long-term alignment. Are the Lakers willing to slow down, commit to a system, and build with discipline? Or will the pull of star chasing and short-term splashes continue to disrupt consistency? Luka's next contract isn't just a piece of paper, it's a declaration. A statement of belief in the people around him, and a blueprint for what kind of legacy he wants to build. Will he choose loyalty to the Lakers, betting on their ability to grow into his vision of excellence? Or will he carve a new path, one that grants him deeper control, stronger infrastructure, and a system tailored to his strengths? What's undeniable is the precedent this decision sets. In today's NBA, superstars aren't just players, they're institutions. They influence front offices, shift power balances, and drive the media cycle. And Luka, more than perhaps any star since LeBron James, holds that level of gravity. His movement would reshape rosters, cap strategies, and even how teams define success. The decision is further complicated by time. Luka is still young, yet experienced enough to understand that windows close quickly. Injuries happen. Chemistry fades. Contenders rise and fall. Every year matters now. Every season lost to dysfunction is a chapter unwritten in a Hall of Fame career. And so Luka must choose wisely. If he stays in Los Angeles, he'll likely do so under very specific terms. There will be expectations, not just on the roster but on the franchise's culture, its coaching, its adaptability. He's no longer a 19-year-old prodigy. He's a seasoned star with a clear identity, and he wants to win on his terms. If he leaves, the impact will be immediate. The Lakers will face public backlash. Their brand will survive, but their credibility as a star-friendly destination may suffer. Other stars, watching closely, will take note. And the team that lands Luka? It will inherit not just a transcendent talent, but the blueprint of modern franchise building. Put the player first, build smartly, and listen. Regardless of where he goes, Luka's decision will send a message. That message might be one of faith in a reformed Lakers system. Or it might be one of independence, a declaration that even the biggest brands must evolve if they want to keep the best. And for the NBA itself, this moment is pivotal. The league is entering a new era, one where player empowerment is no longer a trend, but a structural reality. Luka Dončić is not just choosing a team. He's choosing a model. He's deciding what kind of star he wants to be, and what kind of league he wants to help shape. In the end, the decision may come down to a simple question. Where does Luka believe he can win, not just games but on his own terms? The answer, whatever it may be, will echo far beyond the walls of Crypto.com arena. It will echo through the future of the league itself.